The FBI has issued warnings to police departments in California that Iran could be planning a drone strike on the American West Coast. This isn't happening in the Middle East or at a distant U.S. military base. It could be here on American soil, with unmanned aerial vehicles launched from an unidentified vessel off the California coast. According to a report from ABC News citing the latest intelligence, the specific targets remain unknown. The FBI's Los Angeles office declined to comment. Meanwhile, oil prices jumped more than 6% in a single session, with diesel reaching $4.81 a gallon, the highest since December 2022. As all of this was happening, the U.S. president was speaking in Cincinnati, describing the conflict in Iran as a brief excursion. Two different realities exist simultaneously. One, an administration insisting everything is going according to plan, claiming Iran's navy is neutralized and victory is near. The other, a series of escalating attacks, oil depots burning in Oman, over 100 Hezbollah rockets hitting northern Israel, cargo ships under attack in the Strait of Hormuz, and now domestic threat warnings suggesting the war may reach American shores. This isn't just about military power. It's about the stark contrast between what is being presented to the public and the unfolding reality. Think about it like this. You have a business partner who attacks your biggest supplier without consulting you, with no backup plan and no secured supply chain. Then he tells you everything is fine while your shipments are being ambushed. How long before you stop believing him? That's exactly what's happening between the administration and the American people. CEOs are being encouraged to send ships through a dangerous choke point their own navy cannot secure, while reassurances keep coming that we've got this. At what point does trust become indistinguishable from confusion or incompetence? This crisis didn't start with a strategic plan presented to the nation. There was no Oval Office address, no congressional authorization, no coalition of allies aligned behind a shared objective. What occurred, according to reporting, was a rapid, unilateral escalation, bypassing the constitutional checks designed to prevent precisely this type of military adventure. The administration called it decisive, surgical, and fast. The president described it as an excursion, a matter of a few weeks, maybe slightly ahead of schedule. The military was reportedly struck, leadership targeted, and yet Iran continues to resist and escalate. The administration still cannot clearly answer the most basic wartime question. What does victory look like? And when will American forces return home? Trump did not come to Congress, he said, is because he did not have answers to basic questions and could not make a case for why it was time to strike Iran. No clear objective. One day the goal is regime change, except the regime is getting worse. Another day it is eliminating the nuclear program which was supposedly destroyed last summer. And yet, according to Krishna Morphy, remains very much operational. No timeline, no exit strategy. The only thing that is crystal clear is the cost. And that cost is compounding by the hour. Let me show you 3 receipts. 3 pieces of evidence that reveal where this war actually stands, no matter what any podium performance claims. Receipt number 1. The Strait of Hormuz is functionally contested, and the administration knows it. Trump stood before reporters and personally told oil company CEOs to keep shipping through the strait. Use it, he said. We took out just about all of their mine ships in one night up to boat number 60. When asked whether mines remained in the waterway, his answer was 4 words that should terrify every shipping executive on Earth. We don't think so. Meanwhile, 3 cargo ships that did not obtain Iranian authorization were struck by the Iranian Navy in the strait. All 3 sustained serious damage. The Revolutionary Guard naval commander issued a public statement aimed at anyone who trusted what he called empty promises. Ask the crews of those ships, he said. They were caught. And here is the detail that collapses the entire official narrative. The U.S. Navy has reportedly been refusing the near-daily requests from oil and shipping companies for military escorts through the strait since Operation Epic Fury began. The president says go. The Navy says we cannot protect you. That is not an excursion ahead of schedule. That is a strategic contradiction wide enough to sail an aircraft carrier through, except apparently no one is willing to sail anything through right now. Receipt number 2. The regional fire is expanding, not contracting. Iranian drones struck the fuel storage tanks at the port of Salalah in southern Oman, the country's largest oil depot. The footage shows massive fires consuming infrastructure that took years to build and will take years to replace. In northern Israel, Hezbollah launched 100 rockets in a single coordinated barrage, the kind of volley that signals intent, not impulse. The Houthis in Yemen are expected to intensify operations aimed at shutting down oil transport through the Red Sea, opening a second energy choke point. Iran's stated objective, according to a Reuters exclusive, is to push oil prices to $200 a barrel. The language was explicit. We will not allow even 1 liter of oil to reach the United States, Israel, or its partners. Any vessel or tanker bound for them will be a legitimate target. That is not the posture of a defeated adversary. That is the posture of an actor executing a strategy it believes is working. And the intercept data supports that assessment. UAE interceptor efficacy against Iranian drones dropped significantly, with 20 to 25% more drones penetrating defenses than on previous days. The asymmetric equation that Ukraine's President Zelensky offered to help address cheap drones versus expensive interceptors is playing out in real time. Except now it is American allies absorbing the consequences, and the administration rejected the help. Receipt number 3. The war is reaching American territory, at least at the level of assessed threat. The FBI intelligence bulletin warning California law enforcement about a potential Iranian drone attack from a vessel offshore is not a routine advisory. It represents a qualitative shift in the threat environment. U.S. intelligence believes Iran has the aspiration and potentially the capability to project force against the American homeland, using the same low-cost unmanned systems that are already overwhelming allied defenses in the Gulf. The FBI declined to comment that silence is its own kind of statement. This situation is evolving by the hour, and when the next escalation hits, whether it is in the Strait on the West Coast or across energy markets, you need to be here when it breaks. This story is accelerating, not winding down. Now, let me show you the contrast that defines this entire conflict. On one side, an administration operating on blunt force and spectacle. Trump's public posture is built entirely on demolition metrics. 60 ships sunk, leadership knocked out twice, Navy at the bottom of the sea. It is the language of a man who equates destruction with strategy, as if leveling enough hardware automatically produces a political outcome. While the Strait burned, while drones hit Oman, while the FBI issued domestic threat warnings, the president was posting on social media about the 2020 election results, sharing private text messages with Senator Mike Lee, and calling a Harvard department chair a misfit who should not be hired. That is where his attention was. On the other side, Iran is executing a coordinated multi-ASIAS asymmetric campaign that this administration clearly never anticipated. While Trump posted prophecies about himself, Iran's president poses on the phone with the leaders of Russia and Pakistan, reaffirming alliances and framing Iran as the party committed to regional peace. Iran's public position was calculated to the syllable. The only way to end this war is recognizing Iran's legitimate rights, payment of reparations, and firm international guarantees against future aggression. That is not a white flag. That is a negotiating posture from a government that believes the clock is running in its favor. Consider the resource asymmetry. Iran deploys Shahed drones costing tens of thousands of dollars. America expends interceptors costing millions. Iran has thousands of drones remaining, thousands of ballistic missiles. Congressman Krishnamurthy pointed out that Thrawn has not yet placed warheads on those ballistic missiles, meaning the escalation ladder still has rungs nobody has climbed. Iran is not trying to match American firepower. It does not need to. It is making the cost of this war unsustainable economically, politically, strategically, and waiting for gravity to do the rest. You do not defeat an asymmetric adversary by announcing boat counts. You defeat him by having a plan for week 3, and this administration, by every available indicator, did not have one. So what does this actually mean for you? It means the price you pay for diesel, for groceries, for anything that moves on a truck or a ship is climbing and may not come back down. In the Chicago area, Krishnamurti reported gas prices jumping 50 to 90 in a single week. If Iran executes its threat to push oil past $200 a barrel, and if both the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea become effectively closed to commercial traffic, you are looking at an energy shock that cascades through every sector of the economy. It means American service members are in combat without defined objectives. Reports suggest as many as 150 may have been wounded, though the administration has not provided full transparency. 7 confirmed killed. When the president was asked about a military investigation finding that U.S. forces struck a school in Iran, his entire response was, "I don't know." It means that if you live on the west coast of the United States, the FBI has assessed that Iran aspires to strike your region with drones launched from offshore. That is not a hypothetical buried in a think tank paper. That is an active warning to law enforcement agencies in your state. And once these disruptions take root, they do not simply reverse. When the fighting stops, supply chains root, energy contracts restructure, alliances realign. Those changes become structural. The economic pain is not turbulence. It is a new architecture. And it persists long after the last drone falls into the sea. Where does this go? I see 3 paths. Scenario 1, managed de-escalation. Back channels open, perhaps through Oman or a third party. A face-saving framework emerges. The administration declares victory, frames whatever agreement is reached as a triumph, and begins drawing down forces. But even in this best case, the damage is structural. The strait has been exposed as a vulnerability. Iran's asymmetric playbook has been validated globally. Oil markets carry a permanent new risk premium, and American credibility as a guarantor of commercial navigation has a crack in it that every shipping company in the world can see. Scenario 2, regional realignment. Other actors begin repositioning based on the new reality. Gulf states hedge more aggressively between Washington and Beijing. Iran's coordination with Russia and Pakistan hardens into a durable bloc. Hezbollah and the Houthis continue operating as strategic force multipliers across multiple theaters. What began as a bilateral strike becomes the catalyst for a broader restructuring of Middle Eastern security, one in which the United States is present but no longer the unquestioned center. The alliances forged in crisis do not dissolve when the crisis ends. They become permanent architecture. Scenario 3, escalation spiral. This is the one nobody wants to name out loud. Iran places warheads on its ballistic missiles. The drone threat against the American homeland moves from aspiration to execution. Oil breaks 200. The administration, unable to declare victory and unwilling to withdraw, doubles down. Congress is forced to act through a war powers resolution or through the fracture already forming inside the president's own coalition. Krishnamurti noted that Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene are already breaking publicly with Trump on this. The MAGA base, built on a promise of no more endless wars, watches its leader prosecute exactly the kind of conflict he swore he would never start. The political costs at home become as unsustainable as the military costs abroad. Epic fury becomes, as Krishnamurti put it, epic failure. Here is what I know. This conflict has already altered the strategic landscape in ways that do not reverse. Even if a ceasefire is signed tomorrow, the lessons are permanent. Iran knows its drones work. The shipping industry knows the strait is not safe. American allies know that we've got you covered is not the same as actually being covered. And the American public is learning that excursion is a word for a day trip to the coast, not a war that has killed soldiers, wounded hundreds, sent oil markets into chaos, and placed the threat of aerial attack on California's doorstep. Did Iran outmaneuver the most powerful military on Earth? Or did that military's political leadership send it into a fight without a plan, without congressional authorization, and without an exit? Is this strength, or is this what it looks like when an unserious man holds the most serious job on the planet and decides to improvise a war? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And subscribe, because the next chapter, whether it breaks in the Strait, the Red Sea, or along the California coastline, is coming fast. This story is not slowing down. Do not look away. This content is commentary and analysis for formational purposes only. It does not constitute financial,